Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today's webinar on the clinical trial design memory.
So in terms of our objectives for today, we're prepared to meet the following key areas for today's session. First and foremost, we would like to provide an overview of what we believe are the current dynamics and challenges associated with clinical trial design. Secondly, based on our recent success at AstraZeneca, highlight the capabilities of Salesforce.com as a platform to address these challenges. And Jim and Roman will be talking about those topics in further detail. Jim?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, I would, as I was saying earlier, and as Leo just commented, and we're hearing this from our customers as well, right? They don't want to bring in new technologies as much as they want to leverage the investments they've made. In this particular case, the challenge was the need for having insight and visibility to work done in the past. In the case of clinical trial design, we would call it design memory, or I would call it institutional memory, right? That we do work, we collaborate with teams. In the past, the method of capturing the data was highly disparate, right? So SharePoint or email or docs in one facet or another, and the problem is, I call it long-term and short-term memory, right? In the process of a design, if you have resources that sort of jump in the middle, it's really hard to get up to speed immediately. What's been done, what decisions have been made, and so forth. And then subsequently, let's say we create a new design and it's similar to something we've done in the past. We don't have an easy way of determining the lessons learned. So we end up, reinventing the wheel, if you will. So there have been studies out there that sort of, certainly point to this. So the challenge is, how do we create a mechanism to capture this memory and access this memory in a way that is not too laborious for the users, because they still have to do their day-to-day job, and then make it valuable for what I refer to as the short and long-term memory. So the solution that we're going to take you through today, I like to think of this light structured umbrella over an otherwise unstructured process, right? So different things happen at different times, different types of content, sometimes we're even whiteboarding some capabilities and so forth, and how do we create a semblance of order so that we're not reinventing the wheel? So we talked today about clinical trial design, but as we started talking to a number of customers and presenting the solution, we've unearthed, if you will, other applications for the very same framework, right? So if you think of the framework as I described it, right, a loose, structured umbrella over an otherwise unstructured process, what we found is, as folks are seeing this, they're thinking that the wheels are turning. It's like, hang on, there's a lot of things we're doing today where this could add value, because there's a number of types of projects. Could be product development, could be project or program management, IT project management. There are a number of applications, and what we're excited about, as I mentioned before, is we're taking a platform in Salesforce that has so much flexibility and agility and so much built-in innovation that, when you talk about not reinventing the wheel, the kinds of things you're looking for, are built in, and they're spending billions of dollars putting that in. So to build from scratch is, to me, now a thing of the past. When you have a platform that is that agile and has all the elements you need for success.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to do a short demonstration of clinical trial design tool. So as Jim mentioned, today this tool is built on top of Salesforce platform called force.com or Salesforce One, and is totally configurable based on customers' requirements. This tool helps, so within R&D department for managing clinical trial design process, so this tool helps to first collect, gather, and structure all the content that is being used and discussed during the design phase, helps people to be accountable on every decision that is made within the design phase and later taken to the study summary and for approval to the management or to external authorities, and also reuse the knowledge that you gather during previous design phases and utilize that knowledge for building other phases or other clinical trials in your organization. I'm now logged in as a person working in R&D department who is responsible for designing different clinical trials. On the home page, I can see all my activity log. So this tool is bidirectionally synchronized with Microsoft Outlook, so whatever you plan here is automatically visible in your Outlook calendar and vice versa. So this tool helps not only to build a knowledge base, but also manage all the activities around building that knowledge base and building clinical trials. So whenever you have a task to your colleague, to an external person, or you want to schedule an event or a brainstorming session, you can use Salesforce capabilities for that. And once a user logs into the system, he or she can see that, let's say, I have a meeting scheduled for today and 2 meetings scheduled for tomorrow, and here are my overdue tasks, and here are the tasks related to different clinical trials that I have to complete by a certain date, provide some additional information, some comments, make a decision, and so on. So this tool organizes together both knowledge and activities around that knowledge. All the information in the system is gathered within a program. So a program is a collection of clinical trials around one particular product or molecular or drug that we are developing. On the program page here, I can see all our running programs and clinical trials within these programs. And let's go to Tamiflu for influenza treatment program. A bit of description of this page. So here you can see a descriptive information about the clinical trial program. All these fields are fully configurable, so wherever you need a new field, it can be easily, without no coding, put into the UI. On the top of the page, you can see design elements such as objectives of the clinical trial, measurable endpoints, are we going to use any competitors, how are we going to design the study, what is the optimal dosage, where are we going to conduct clinical trials in different countries, regions, and what should be our population categories for this particular trial. So these categories are fully configurable, so and we are using these as some like default preset categories. And they are used for capturing and structuring all information that you are bringing from outside over the internet, discussing in a room, doing some brainstorming sessions, speaking to KOLs or external authorities, and then processing it internally and building decisions. Why are we going to make this clinical trial this way? Are we going to include different options into evaluation, exclude some of them, explain why we are excluding them from evaluation, and so on. Below, we can see a timeline. So the timeline is a fully interactive way to understand when the decisions are made, who was the author of those decisions, what was like the knowledge collected behind those decisions, and are there any documents supporting those decisions. And you can literally scroll back and forth in time and understand who was making those decisions at that time. And if that person leaves a company, you can easily, in this tool, understand what was the knowledge collected, what were the files collected during that discussion a year ago, and why at that time we have decided to go this way but not that way. We will come to this timeline a bit later. So below, on the program page, I can manage different clinical trials. So for example, if I'm building a clinical trial protocol for phase 2, I can reuse some knowledge that we have collected during phase 1. And again, if I'm going to design a phase 3 and waiting for the results from phase 2, all this information can be categorized and stored in one system, in one unified environment, and reused while building new studies and new versions. For every study I am building, I can create arms. So an arm is a set of different decisions in different categories, let's say location, population, and dosage, and include multiple arms in one study and provide them for review and approval to the governmental authorities. Notes are our unstructured pieces of information. So whenever you find an interesting article on the internet, or you want to share some of your thoughts and ideas to your design team colleagues, or you have written meeting notes after a brainstorming session, you can send them to the system using a predefined email address. So you do not even need to log into the system. So you just send it to a predefined email address, and it converts to a note in the system. And a note can be, as you can see here, either like a meeting note, an email, or a link that I want to share with my colleagues. And then you are structuring notes into what we call information item. So an information item is an abstract of the external piece of content processed and discussed internally, and is a sort of a decision that is made around a certain point, around a certain topic in a specific category, such as dosage, population, location, design, or whatever you want to use for categorization of your decisions. Below, under the notes section, you can see all our information items or decisions. So this is what we have already agreed in dosage, in design, in our objectives for a clinical trial, in our measurable endpoints, in location. So you can see that we have agreed to conduct a study in USA. For the population category, so this is our desired population category, male or female volunteers 18 to 40 for this particular clinical trial program or study, and so on. So you can have lots of different decisions in different categories, and you can play around, sort them, and build different study protocols for your particular phases. Below, you can see activities. So what has to be completed and what was done in the past. And whoever joins your design process can easily understand who was doing what. I can see that someone was designing phase 3 study protocol. There was a meeting session in Delaware, and we have still to prepare some documents for FDA and ask and gather some additional evidence for patient population. For those users who are not able to gather face-to-face and run a brainstorming session in a room, this tool offers discussions. Discussion is like a Facebook-style thread where everyone can express their ideas. So let's see, we are discussing here population ideas. And here you can see that different people are asking different questions, suggesting to vote for different inclusions or exclusions to our population categories. Some of them may share different images or charts or files, and others can suggest their ideas. I can make some comments for that, and on the right side I can see all the files that are related to this particular discussions, to this particular discussion, and also all our activities. So within this discussion we need still to get some evidence, and we have already discussed inclusion of a certain population category into our phase 2 study. Going back. Also, on the timeline, you can track the milestones. So milestones are important key deadlines or dates that you have to be aware of while you are designing a study. Either it's a global internal meeting or a deadline for submission for approval for this year to FDA, or whatever you want to track. You can set those milestones in the system, and they will be visible on the timeline. Not only you can include your internal team into the design process, but also external organizations. So they may be external laboratories or partner pharmaceutical companies or governmental authorities who are contributing into the design process. And you can keep track of them here in the accounts and team members section. Going back to the timeline, it's all interactive, and you can see that I can see all the milestones, notes, decisions, or information items, discussions, and activities on the timeline. With vertical red line, I can see all my milestones that we should meet during the design phase and all the decisions that were made. So if you look on the, let's say, endpoints lane, you can see that there was a decision made on May 18, or I can scroll back in time. In objectives lane, I can see that a decision was made back in April this year, and it can go down to, I don't know, 1 or 2 or 5 years back. And so this timeline helps you to understand why these decisions are made, who was responsible for making that decision, and trace all the knowledge behind every decision you made during the design phase. Let's imagine that we have shared a link to an FDA website, and we want to share with our team members different files that we have gathered on FDA website. So I'm now looking on the node page, and here I can see the link that I want to share with my colleagues, but also I have included 2 files that are stored in Salesforce internally in specific folder in library and accessible for all users who are responsible for the design phase. Going back to our timeline, let's imagine we have just had a meeting in our office, and we have decided to go to include these patient categories into our clinical study design, and also exclude these groups from evaluation and we have supported them with evidence from external research papers that are attached here. And I want to make a decision that we have decided to go this way, and here is why. So as I have filled in a meeting note straight in the system, I want to create a decision, and everything I have to do is just to highlight a piece of text in my meeting note and click on the Create New Information item and say that so I put the date when the decision was made, I put the author of that, and I say that this decision relates to population category. And also, if you remember, there were 2 files that were supporting those ideas that we have discussed on the meeting, and here I can pick that one of them supports this particular decision, and I click Save, and it automatically creates a decision in a specific category. And now, if I go back to our program timeline, in the population category, I have this decision made on July 23rd, and I can see the author, and I can see all the description of that decision. And if I drill down into that decision, I can see the file. I haven't attached that file to this particular decision. That file was a part of a meeting note where we discussed multiple things. But as this file relates to the evidences around this decision, it's now visible here. So this is a decision that we have made. It relates to a category called population. Here are the files, or a file that supports this decision. And below, we can keep track on all the, what we call breadcrumbs. So that decision was made based on the meeting note that was made in June this year within this clinical trial program. And once you are submitting a study protocol to the management or to the external authorities, and if they are asking, why have you made this decision, you can easily go to the timeline and scroll back to the date when the decision was made and read all the knowledge behind that decision. This tool also helps you to build different printout forms of a study protocol. And let's say I want to build a study summary for version 2. And it will be a summary. I create the author, so I'm filtering the author and all the categories that we have discussed. And here are all my decisions that were made during the design phase. I'm selecting those which I think are important for this particular version of the study, and adding them and saving a study protocol. And now I can generate a Word document from the system based on your template. So this one is like pretty standard, but we can easily include your template into the Word template. And here you can see the description of the study, what we want to accomplish, and all our categories and all the decisions and the supportive information around each decision that was made during the design phase. And this document may be designed based on your guidelines, and it may be like generated with like one click from the system, and you can easily send it for approval or review with the management or external authorities.
Yep, so that's the end of the questions. So unless anybody else has anything else, we will wrap this up. And just a thank you to Jim, Lior, and Roman for your presentation today, and everyone for taking the time to join. We will send out a recording of the webinar shortly to everyone who attended. And thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.